How are you?
Good morning. Happy Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Just one more day to
Ugh,
the weekend so we can just do more of this.
do more of this and stay in the same clothes.
Right, exactly. I like your t-shirt. It says certified
Here,
pro advisor.
Certified Pro Advisor. I got it when I went to QB Connect last year, probably the last conference that I will go to.
Oh,
Um, they've all been canceled
okay.
so, because uh, of our current situation.
Right.
I just want to welcome everybody. Aisha Hamilton is the owner of Hamilton Law, and she focuses her practice on employment law, taking care of employees and being a champion of them. My name is Alisa McCabe. I'm the owner at First Steps Financial, and we take care of small businesses. We streamline the back office and use technology to help them get where they need to go. And we are QuickBooks Pro Advisors. I have my Certified Pro Advisor shirt on today. And we are all the information and content on this webinar is for general information purposes only. And basically it's our opinion. None of this
Yeah.
is fact, as far as we know. And today we're talking about, do we shine as more than minorities or women? And can it be known, can we let it be known who we are? And I just wonder if, how do we recognize that we're feeling as an imposter? And I think every woman has felt this, that, maybe you're doing something that you are not qualified to do, or, oh no, how did I get here?
And I think a lot of it is, at least I feel this, I don't, maybe you relate, is feeling like you don't belong in that room. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is, oh my gosh, like look around me, and as we get to more advanced stages, right? So when you felt like you didn't belong in the room when you were 25 is maybe somewhat legitimate, right? But
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you don't belong in the room when you're 45 or 50 or 55 is, we're at a completely different stage in our careers. And so you have to take that imposter syndrome really seriously at this point, and really start to sort of feel, listen, why do I not belong here, right?
Yeah.
But I always feel like, sort of working with business coaches along, through the years, it's really important to identify the feeling, right? So you have to know what you're feeling to then be able to say, wait a second, I've named it. That's the imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to now work on not letting it hold me back. And that's the tough part. So Lisa, you mentioned last week, and I loved the story, but I wanted to ask you, you're in the room a lot competing with male CFOs. So how do you overcome this feeling, or do you feel it?
So I definitely feel it, and I feel like it's hard to gauge each. You have to gauge each situation. Sometimes it's okay, and I just try to rely on my expertise, knowing that some of the men that I encounter that are CFOs, and they're doing this and they're resting on their laurels in a sense. I feel like I have to work twice as hard. So I continually push myself and my team to learn more and know the newest thing that's come out and the newest software and what we can do to best help our clients. And I feel like I can win on that side.
So what you're talking about is that thing that we all do, which, who was it? Michelle Obama characterized as, tap dancing backwards in heels, right?
Absolutely.
You have to do more, be bigger, better, badder than everything, and than anybody else, right? So let's talk a little bit about that, right? We know why we feel like we have to do that. But one of the reasons I think we end up doing that is because we also, as women, don't share our successes. We
We
don't
don't celebrate them. We
don't
kind
celebrate them.
of them.
Right.
You know, it's so funny. I was reading an article. I was, you know, all these things going on. They, you know, the image of Aunt Jemima, you know, they're taking it off of the packages. And it got me thinking, because we're talking about like your image, like women, what do we look like, and how are we able to show ourselves? And so I started looking up, like I had someone incorrectly posted that she actually was the first Black millionaire. And I was like, let me fact check that. Wrong. But what I did come up with was this woman, Mary Ellen Pleasant, and she's one of the first self-made Black millionaires. And she she used her position to gather wealth. She purposely, even when she was wealthy, put herself as a servant so she could listen to the men and hear. She worked as a chef and as a house servant, and she would listen to all their stories and what they were investing in and what they were doing.
Right.
She used her position, and it was funny because she did kind of hide her wealth in a sense.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and it was, you know, she was worried about discrimination to a degree. I mean, she did build a 30-bedroom mansion in downtown San Francisco, so maybe she didn't hide it too much. But I was intrigued by what she did and how she did it. And it got me thinking about us and our conversation this morning, and that line of, you know, why do we have to be, you know, we have to hide that light.
Right.
Hid behind white men. She actually ended up partnering with a white man so that she could do more.
Right. And that's strategic. And I think that's smart.
It is.
It is. But you know, what we as women do is, if somebody says, and you know, even as something as, oh, what a great shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or what a lovely pocketbook, right? What
fabulous shoes.
Say, right, fabulous shoes. You're like, oh, these old things, oh, they're 10 years old, or oh, I got it at Marshall's, or you know, you're downplaying the fact that we're intentionally putting ourselves and designing our look to convey a certain image, and then we downplay it. Why do we do that?
I don't know. I think we don't want to bring too much attention to ourselves. You know, even if we were, are we afraid of criticism? Are we afraid of being bigger, you know, than we are? I don't know. I don't know what that intimidation, maybe we feel like imposters. You know what I mean? Like a successful woman, or I think a lot of us are afraid to let that light shine through of who we really are.
So I have a funny story for you. So back in the early 2000s, when I worked for another firm, and I said to our, you know, I'd gone to this annual meeting in Atlantic City that all the lawyers go to, you know, every year. And, you know, the next morning I meet with my boss for breakfast. And right off the bat, he's like, check out my new watch. Check out this $10,000 Rolex. I won big last night. And so I went out and bought myself a Rolex. Right. And I thought, oh my God, what, would a woman ever do that? No, I don't think I would do that. and it was crass, and I don't think you should do that. But why? He didn't have a problem doing that. Right?
That's so funny. I think that I guess we are just, women in general are just a little more subtle about things. And I wonder, you know, we also we're not usually the loudest voice in the room. And I know, I think that, did you ever read Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I read it a while ago too. And I liked a lot of what she said. It actually, it made me realize that I was doing things that was not letting my light shine through, that I was keeping it dulled down to not offend people around me, or to not, because being the smart girl has never been like this great thing.
No. Do you know, my daughter was just talking about, she just finished 8th grade and sort of talking about, hey, let's reflect back on what was this like for you, highs, lows. And she said, yeah, I found that most of the people who wanted me on group chats really just wanted me so that I would do the homework for them, so that I would, that's the only way they ever interacted with me, is to ask me how to do the math problem.
That's awesome. Isn't it great?
Yeah. And I thought, well, I'm super proud of you for the fact that you were the smart one, right? Great.
Yeah.
Like be strong, be great at math. But it's heartbreaking,
I
right?
know.
And that's the thing, is in our society, being the smart one, actually, I'm not sure that was well rewarded at that age. But at
But
this
as women,
age,
yeah, I was gonna say, as women, and Meg posted a comment. She says men like to fluff their feathers, and our women are taught not to do that.
yeah, why is that? We need to, and I'm not saying we need to all go out and buy Rolexes and start flashing the bling, right? What I do think we need to do a better job of is when you accomplish something, when you write a great article, when you are appointed to a post,
Right,
you
win an
talk about
award.
it, right?
I actually have to say that too. Like I'm like, it makes me feel like crass to say like, oh, I won this award, or I did this, or and I am going to admit something extremely shameful. When I see someone do that on Facebook, I think, what a braggart.
Right. Exactly.
I really need to like reel it back in, and especially women, because women don't do that, and we probably need to applaud each other and support each other, and
Right.
and I most from like a very supportive person, so I feel like I probably need to.
But you know what? That kind of supportive nature comes naturally to women because we are empathetic, and because we are of the it takes a village type of attitude, right? But what we need to start doing it for ourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
And just saying, it's okay for me to say, I'm super thrilled that I just got this, or I earned it.
Yeah, going back to your daughter too. So how can she use that strength to her advantage? I mean, she's so smart and she's good at math, which girls just
Right.
historically have not been superstars at math, and that's awesome. So how can she use, and I think this is huge to talk to a 14-year-old girl, because that's the age where you're so awkward. I have a 14-year-old girl too, and she loves math too. They would probably be best buds. They would about stuff. And I told my daughter too, I'm like, you should join robotics next year. Do the robotics team. She's like, oh, they're all nerds. I'm like, honey, those are your people. But how do you use that strength to your advantage? Like what? I don't know if anybody actually is attending and said, has an idea. What advice do you give to a 14-year-old girl to have her be able to shine her light in this situation?
I mean, what was my response? My response was, well, honey, you have a talent and a skill set here that maybe now at this point in your life seems like it's a negative, but it's actually going to serve you really, really well. So in middle school, ending middle school, heading to high school, I mean, it's the worst age for anybody, right? Just
I know.
objectively,
That
is
so
bad,
ugly.
right? And so you're sort of like, okay, I get that this is hard and that it doesn't help you from a social perspective, but these are the skills you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what the 14-year-old is like, yeah, mom, but I feel like I don't have any friends. I'm like, well, I don't know.
Roll your eyes.
Right?
And it's totally true. I think at 14, they all don't feel like they have friends.
Right.
But I think, and so going back to using your strength. So, Meg wrote in, we could tell her, use those words, shine your light, honey. But you can also use that as a strength in the sense that we'll start to build relationships because you're smart.
Right.
Let's know you're more than just smart.
Right.
As a teenager, it's hard because everybody's one-dimensional. They care about like what you look like and how mean you are, because those are the most popular people. And so I think that I'm trying to think like what I would say to my daughters, like, well, use that smart. Start a math group,
Right.
and then everybody will look to you and maybe look to you as a leader.
Right.
And that positions you, and that's a really hard position to be in. And
yeah. And to Meg's point, right? So telling them to shine their light is absolutely critical, right? And then basically saying, listen, you got to own it. This is your strength. You got to own it. But the other half of that, and this I will do to her, is say, look, I felt like this too. I have a very close friend, and our kids have sort of grown up together, and she's very, very senior in a pharma company now. And I said, so she didn't get there by being, the social butterfly in middle school and high school. She got there, unfortunately, by feeling exactly how you feel, and feeling isolated, and feeling like nobody wanted to hang out with the nerds. And that's, this is not a new problem to you, my friend, right?
Yeah.
Saying, but look at where she is now. And yes, I know that looking at the big picture doesn't help, but perhaps knowing that you aren't alone in the feeling maybe helps.
Yeah, that's true. Knowing that there's other people who feels that way. Amanda said, why does the stereotype persist that women are afraid of lifting each other up?
Yeah.
No, I am usually a big champion of people, especially women, because I know that we need more than anything to support each other, because it's harder for us.
Right.
At least I think it is.
No, I agree. And I will tell you, women judges, women bosses, women in leadership positions, I have felt, I've personally experienced, do not go that extra step to mentor, because there's just a general sense of, well, I had to pay my dues. Toughen up, pay your dues, which is it's not a productive lift as you rise type of perspective. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we're talking about, what are the types of things you experienced as a woman of color, and coming up in the ranks of your career, and how do you overcome that, right? And the response was, well, yeah, I experienced some really horrible stuff. She gave some examples. And then the takeaway was shut up and take it, because if you raise too much of a complaint about it, I wouldn't be where I am today. Right?
You get labeled.
Whiner.
Yeah, you're a whiner, you're a bitch.
Right. And I thought, oh boy, and this is coming from a woman in power. Now, what hope is there for those of us who are hoping for the lift as you rise perspective, as opposed to the shut up and take it, right? I mean, is that the reality? Yes, that's the reality of, if they had complained, if they had filed a lawsuit, if they had been the whiner, would that have been an issue? Yeah, I don't think they would have gotten to the place where they got in their careers. But that's not right.
What a moral dilemma. What a moral dilemma for the person in that situation. Do I make a complaint so that it changes for other people, or do I just shut up and take it and then get to a position of power and try and change it for other people?
Right.
Wow.
But once you get to the position of power, there's always more. There's always another step, right? Unless it's you or me, Alyssa, where we own our own businesses and we can say, you know what, I'm not worried about being pink slipped because I complained about something. But most women aren't in that role, right? They're climbing a corporate ladder, or, looking for what's the next point, especially in our age group, where they're senior enough but not done yet.
Yeah.
And you have to be, I think, extremely cautious about the fight that you're going to pick.
Mhm.
But that means we have to put up with a lot of nonsense.
You know what, too? I know you're saying that we don't experience it as much, but I think even as business owners, you do.
Yeah.
Because what if you, Aisha, what if you took a case that was controversial and people didn't agree with it?
Right. And even to cycle back to sort of where we started with this topic, I love that we kind of go all over the place, but the feeling of, I've actually had people say to me, oh, well, probably they needed a diverse candidate, so that's why you got them. And, my response is always, sure, but it could also be A, B, and C things in my resume, in my background. But hey, whatever gets me there is fine.
And you know what? And I have a really horrible example of this. So Trump has a new press secretary, and they're painting her as the blonde bimbo.
But she's from Harvard.
I know, but I wish I could pull up a picture of her quickly. Her hair's done. She wears a lot of makeup. She dresses really nice. And it actually, my brother actually brought it up, and because I was telling him about the discussion we were having today about, how do you shine as more than a woman?
Right.
And nobody can see anything but that.
Right.
And you were hired because of the way you look.
Yeah.
Again,
and I think it's really, even the perception, Alisa, I don't know if you feel this, but the impression of being blonde, right?
Oh, I get that all the time.
Right.
Yeah. No, it was much worse when I was younger. It was, nobody took me seriously. I actually remember one of my first jobs that I was in competition with other men for a position to place my product in a place, and I won. And I got this awesome position for my product to go. And the men said all kinds of horrible things. And the manager who made the decision just said, well, it's because she's good looking. I thought, wow, that was horrible. I actually spoke to him privately about it afterwards. And to this day, it was a long time ago, like 20 years ago. And I remember talking to him like, really? Is that really why you gave me, why you allowed? He says, no, of course not. He said, then why couldn't you stand up for me?
Right.
And tell them why. And I think maybe that's part of it, is we need to empower the men in our lives to pray, to echo the praise for us. Like when we stand up and do something good, that they do it too. And then people will see us as more than just whatever shell we present.
Well, I was listening to, what we're now during COVID, we're all on conference calls at home all the time. And so after my husband was done with a conference call, I went over to him and I said, look, it sounds like someone was giving your project manager kind of a hard time. And he's like, no, well, it's just, it's a stressful time right now. And I said, so be an ally, right? Have her back. When you know that she is doing the best she can and that other people aren't providing her with the data, be an ally. Don't let her fight that battle on her own. And it's, I feel like my husband and my 16-year-old son are good people, but I still think I have to say this stuff, right? So to bring it front of mind.
I don't think of it. You went back to saying that women are more empathetic. We are just like, and I just don't think that that's as strong in most men. Right. And so I think we do need to bring it up. I think you're right. I think that's one thing that will definitely help us be able to shine more of who we are. I guess we just have to feel more comfortable with it, more confident in who we are. Right. Not either one of us, you and I, neither one of us lacks confidence, but we still tend to, I tend to dim my light sometimes just so not to offend or upset anyone else.
I had seen a quote from Tina Fey, right, who I
I
love.
love her
She's
too. She's so
fantastic.
funny.
She's empowering. And she said, you know, when asked about imposter syndrome, she's like, yeah, I swing from feeling like I'm a huge egomaniac to the down of, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't even deserve to be here. I don't know what I'm doing. And I thought, I feel like that
Me
because I
too.
remind myself to not hide my light. And then I
Mhm.
feel like I'm a bragger and I feel like I'm just like so full of myself. And then one little thing happens and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, this is horrible. Like why did they even hire me? Or why did that person even want me in that role? And you
But
think,
then, what do you do then when
and
that
then you
happens?
try and remind yourself.
Yeah, you give yourself a little pep talk
Right.
as, no, I am smart. I am supposed to be here.
Right.
I, you pick those things that pump you back up.
Right.
Um,
And you know, I will say to my daughter, I'll say to myself, if you have something happen that's a disappointment, allow yourself to feel it. And then, you know, after a couple of hours, like snap out of it and get back to work, right? Just you have
yeah,
to own the feeling. But when I start to feel the imposter stuff, I nip it right in the bud, right? So
good for
I
you.
now can recognize when I'm starting to feel the the panic of, oh my God, I don't deserve to be here. And then
Hmm.
I nip it right away because you cannot allow that feeling to stay with you, right? You can
Yeah.
allow the feeling of disappointment that you may have lost a case or that the negotiation may not have gone as you expected, whatever it is, you can allow that and own that feeling,
Hmm.
because I think that's what you learn from. But any of these sort of irrational, generalized, oh my God, I'm not good enough to be here feeling needs to be locked down.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually, I don't know, I think actually you were saying it, you were having a conversation with someone and it was like, well, what would a man do in this situation? And it's true. And I think, and not that men don't doubt themselves, they absolutely do. But I just think that sometimes we have to have a front of bravado, you know? Um, and Amanda says, are children being taught differently? And if so, are they absorbing it? My own teens say he gives himself 5 minutes to be disappointed and then gets over it. And it seems to work for him. So just exactly what you were saying, like give yourself 5 minutes to be disappointed and then give yourself the pep talk and get back on the horse and keep going.
Right. And I actually love that her teenager has come to this realization that I've come to, after almost 50 years. So,
No,
so yes, like maybe they're being taught differently. I love it.
but I hope so. Because I think that all the time, thinking, crap, I am 50 years old and it's taken me this long to get here.
Right.
Ah, man, how much easier. I just think time-wise too, in the era of time of, when we were in our 20s, it was completely different for us than it is now. It's a great era to be a woman. It really, really is. I'm so happy. I'm happy for my daughters. I think they're going to grow up in a much different environment, with different things that are going to be, they're going to be addressing, but being able to shine. We got 5 minutes for everybody to get to work. Go run and get to your desk, take a bio break. Next week, we are taking a break, and we are going to be meeting again in 2 weeks. And we're going to be talking about being judged by your appearance and is it affecting your business and your growth? And that can cut both ways, whether you are just being you and you wear your hair in a ponytail and you wear a sweatshirt, or if you dress up like we were talking about, if you put all the makeup and do the hair and everything. So we're going to be talking more about that. So Aisha, it was fabulous to see you again.
Great. And I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. I thank everybody for attending. Talk to you later.
Bye.